I'm proud of that one. Like, what a good fight, you know. I can show that I can grapple. I can get up off the floor. Tried for a little bit of a triangle. I was striking, I was patient, and then I got a stoppage. Like, it's a perfect fight for me, you know. I know that these fights aren't going to be easy. I'm going to get hit in the face, but that's what I'm there to do, you know.
Jena Bishop walked into the cage with confidence written across every step she took. Her walkout song blared through the arena, but she barely noticed the music. All she could feel was the years of preparation, the grind, the endless training sessions that had brought her here. She had spent more than a decade mastering jiu-jitsu, reaching the level of black belt, and earning her reputation as one of the sport's most dangerous grapplers. In her mind, this wasn't just another fight. It was her chance to prove to the world and to herself that the hype surrounding Dakota Dangerous Ditcheva was nothing but smoke and mirrors. She believed she had the perfect weapon to beat the undefeated striker, but the reality of what happened inside that cage was something she never saw coming. By the time it was over, Bishop wasn't just dealing with the aches of a knockout, she was staring down the possibility that her career might have just ended.
I mean, I've been telling you. I was trying to tell you, but...
You think they're going to listen now, right?
Maybe. I'm sure they'll still be moaning about me, but I'll just keep proving them wrong.
You're the first person to prove this system. Europe belt, world championship. What's next for you?
Oh, I don't know.
Dakota's performance was more than dominant. It was a showcase of control, power, and precision. The kind of fight that doesn't just win you fans, it changes the way your name is spoken in every conversation about the division. And once the first strike landed, the atmosphere shifted in a way you could feel in your bones. Bishop had come in ready for war. Instead, she found herself trapped in a nightmare that seemed to close in with every passing second. But the most shocking moments were still ahead. The tension between these two didn't start when the cage door shut. It had been building for weeks. Jena Bishop had been vocal, both in interviews and on social media. She openly questioned the quality of the opponents Dakota had faced, suggesting that the PFL had been careful not to put her in with anyone who could truly test her.
I don't want to ask you when Dakota Ditcheva is going to be in the UFC, but I get the feeling this woman is going to make a lot of money. All hail Dakota Ditcheva, increasingly a face of women's MMA.
She is very, very good and very, very dangerous and really is the full package, right? A good-looking girl.
She hinted that Dakota's perfect record was the product of careful matchmaking, not unstoppable talent. These weren't vague comments, they were sharp, deliberate jabs at Dakota's credibility. Bishop promised to drag the so-called dangerous fighter into deep waters, where flashy knockouts and highlight reels wouldn't save her. Dakota, for her part, didn't fire back. She didn't need to. She had been through plenty of verbal challenges before, and she understood something important: words don't win fights. The silence wasn't a sign of weakness, it was a warning. All of Dakota's focus was on fight night, on the moment the bell rang, and she could let her skill speak for her. This wasn't just a semi-final match. The stakes were massive. The winner would go on to fight for $1 million prize in the final. The arena was buzzing with anticipation. Fans weren't just expecting a fight, they were expecting something explosive. And if they thought the pre-fight tension was high, they had no idea what was about to happen once fists started flying.
When is Dakota Ditcheva going to the UFC?
I think people now, with me beating Tyler Santos, they want to see like what else I'm capable of, so it's got to be something more.
Women want to be equal. And believe me when I tell you, women have proved here that they are equal.
Dakota's road to this moment had been built on discipline and sacrifice. She came into the fight with a flawless 12-0 record, 10 of those wins by knockout. Her striking was sharp, her timing deadly. She had left her home in the UK and moved to Florida, far from her family, including her grandmother, who she described as one of the most important people in her life. Every day in Florida was dedicated to one goal: becoming the best. She trained relentlessly, pushed herself into uncomfortable positions in practice, just to prepare for the worst possible moments in a fight. Bishop's path was different but no less intense. She was an 11-year black belt in Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, with decades of grappling experience.
You're going to build your fighter striking.
Me. Sugar Sean probably after me.
Wrestling?
But I think the obvious one would be Khabib, but Kayla Harrison, I really think she could give him a run for his money.
Jiu-Jitsu.
Gillian Robertson. For a male, Charles.
She had built her MMA career to a 7-1 record, her only loss coming in a razor-close split decision to Taylor Santos. That fight still haunted her, and she wanted redemption. In her eyes, Dakota was a striker with gaps in her game, gaps Bishop could exploit. This wasn't just striker versus grappler, it was a clash of philosophies, two fighters from different worlds. But in fighting, only one truth matters: who can impose their will, and in just a few minutes they'd find out. The opening seconds of the fight were filled with tension. Both fighters circled, testing each other's range, waiting for the first move. Dakota's stance was patient but dangerous, her eyes locked on Bishop's shoulders and hips, reading every twitch for signs of a takedown attempt. Bishop edged forward, searching for her chance. Less than 2 minutes in, she lunged, catching Dakota off guard with a perfectly timed double-leg takedown. The crowd erupted. This was exactly where Bishop wanted the fight on the mat, in her world. Most strikers panic here, especially when they're under the control of someone with Bishop's credentials. But Dakota didn't panic. She kept her composure, fought for underhooks, and stayed calm, her breathing steady. She had trained for moments like this, forcing herself in practice to start from bad positions so she could learn how to escape them under pressure. And just when Bishop seemed to have control, Dakota exploded back to her feet. The crowd felt the shift immediately. Bishop's advantage had just slipped away. From there, the tone changed. Dakota closed the distance, locked Bishop into a clinch, and delivered a brutal knee that made the crowd gasp. Bishop stumbled, but Dakota didn't rush in recklessly. Instead, she stepped back, motioned for Bishop to stand fully, and then pressed forward. A sharp front kick to the body, followed by a crushing right hand, sent Bishop to the canvas. The referee had seen enough. In under 4 minutes, the fight was over, but the real story was what came next. As the referee raised Dakota's hand, she turned to Bishop's corner, pressed a finger to her lips, and gave them a slow, deliberate shush. It wasn't just a celebration, it was a message.
Who do you see? Who do you watch and say, I'm better than them?
I mean, I could have the title if I went there.
Alexa Grasso, Valentina Shevchenko.
Yeah, I think I could.
That is confidence.
They say to me, you know, she's running through all these girls because they're not very good. But if you put these girls against other people, they have close fights. Whereas when you put them with me, I finish them early, so I make it look easy.
Bishop's team had been tagging her in posts, mocking her opponents, and doubting her skills for weeks. Now with Bishop beaten, Dakota sent her response without saying a word. But when the microphone was handed to her, she didn't hold back. She said Bishop would join the list of cans she'd beaten and told her to take a seat. The words were sharp, and they landed hard. Bishop, still trying to clear her head, didn't respond, but her expression said everything. She had walked into the fight planning to expose Dakota. Instead, she'd been stopped in front of the world. And Dakota's night was far from over. Her next challenge was already set. Her victory over Bishop set up a showdown with Taila Santos, a UFC veteran known for her toughness and skill. Santos had gone the distance with Valentina Shevchenko, pushing the UFC champion to one of the closest fights of her career. But Dakota wasn't intimidated. She reminded everyone that Santos hadn't been able to finish her when they trained together, and she believed her own speed, power, and relentless pressure would be too much. At 26 years old, she was unbeaten at 13-0 with 11 knockouts. The confidence in her voice was impossible to ignore. But as her star power grew, so did the speculation. Was she the next Ronda Rousey, or was she something even more dangerous? The comparisons only fueled her determination, and then a new name entered the conversation. Liz Carmouche, a battle-tested veteran who had fought the best in the world, spoke up. She had been in the cage with Rousey, Shevchenko, and Nunes. She knew how to survive, how to adapt, and how to drag opponents into deep waters. Analysts called a Carmouche-Dakota matchup one of the most intriguing fights possible, a true clash of styles and eras. Carmouche had the experience, Dakota had the momentum, but to get to a fight like that, Dakota needed to keep proving herself. That meant making her next performance unforgettable. That chance came at PFL Africa against Sumiko Inaba after an 8-month layoff. From the opening bell, Dakota was in complete control. She worked her clinch game, using elbows and knees to wear Inaba down. In the second round, a devastating knee had the crowd roaring, but then, she injured her left hand, possibly breaking it. Most fighters would have slowed down or backed off. Dakota didn't. She kept pressing forward, controlling every exchange until the final horn. She walked away with a dominant decision win, pushing her record to 15-0. And right there, in the cage, she made her next move. Dakota called out Valentina Shevchenko for a historic cross-promotional fight. She wanted it in a stadium in Manchester, in front of her home crowd. She wanted to prove that PFL fighters could hang with the UFC's best. With Amanda Nunes retired and Shevchenko nearing the end of her career, the timing was perfect. Dakota had the record, the style, and the charisma to be the next big name in women's MMA. But as she stood there, undefeated, there was still one truth: every fight was a chance for someone to take it all away. Her confidence came from a lifetime in combat sports. Her mother was a world champion in kickboxing and Muay Thai. Dakota had grown up training, winning world titles in Muay Thai before even stepping into MMA. Since turning pro in 2021, she'd finished nearly every opponent she faced. Her Her game was built to handle any situation, striking from range, fighting in the clinch, defending takedowns, and even surviving on the ground against elite grapplers. But the question wasn't just who she could beat, it was whether anyone could beat her at all. Some believed the UFC was the only place left for her to truly be tested. Names like Alexa Grasso, Erin Blanchfield, and Manon Fiorot were thrown around as possible challenges. Others thought she could even move up to bantamweight and still dominate. Dan Hardy believed she had the frame and reach to succeed in multiple divisions. But Dakota wasn't rushing. Her focus was on staying active, staying sharp, and leaving no doubt in any fight she took. The night she beat Jena Bishop was more than just a win. It was the moment she silenced critics, broke a rival's spirit, and sent a message to the entire sport. Bishop had wanted to prove Dakota was overrated. Instead, she left looking like someone who had just seen the end of her own career. For Dakota, it was just another step toward the future she was building. One fight, one finish, one statement at a time. And as she walked out of the arena that night, there was only one question left echoing in everyone's mind. Who would be brave enough to stand in front of her next? And how long would they last once the first strike landed?